Mr. Jeffrey Romano, thank you so much for being in the studio. How are you doing?
Good, good, very good. Thank you for the invitation to your podcast.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about marketing in the banking world and the fintech world, specifically, I guess, like how that affects the crypto industry as a whole, and yeah. But before we dive into that, give us a little bit of background on who you are, what your interest is in the space, and
Sure. So primarily I'm a marketer through and through. So my background is in marketing. I've been in marketing for 15 years. I love marketing mainly because it's a creative aspect, and um, throughout my career I've always worked in marketing and tech. So I've marketed stuff from web design services to SaaS products, AI chatbots, and now more recently, past 4 or 5 years, fintech.
okay.
And yeah, and for the past, I think, 3 to 4 years, I've been more and more interested in crypto, and that is sort of my introduction to the space.
The crossover. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you're a marketing guy that's working in the banking space and you're servicing the crypto industry. But let's before we get into banking and that sort of stuff, let's talk about crypto. Where is your or what was your first introduction into the industry?
Um, so the first time I heard about crypto was um, probably around 8 9 years ago, when I was working with an AI startup, and the developers and the team, I remember, were very uh, optimistic and passionate about it, and I was ashamedly quite I was
Green.
yeah, and I wasn't a believer at the time, so I was a skeptic.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Were you a skeptic or a naysayer?
no, I was a skeptic.
You're a skeptic.
Okay,
Okay, okay, cool,
So,
cool, cool.
which is a shame, because if I had bought there and then, that would have been great. But yeah, I guess everyone has that story.
Hindsight is 2020. Exactly.
Um, but yeah, 3 4 years ago, I was looking for new verticals in which FinXP, where I work, we could focus on, and crypto was one of these verticals, and so I took it upon myself to learn more. Um, Became really interested in it. Did a couple of courses and started to learn more. And yeah, that sort of was my way into the industry.
Okay, so you first sort of saw crypto in the wild, and then you sort of got into the banking and payment sphere and started to see like a correlation between what was happening in the wild and what your business was doing, and tried to put them together.
Yeah, because I mean, at FinXP, we were already receiving some inquiries from crypto companies, um, and when you receive a number of leads, you start saying to yourself, okay, is this a sector in which we should be investing more in? And so we started researching more and investing more into that sector. Um, Now it's one of our main sectors that we focus on from a marketing perspective.
Okay.
And yeah, and year after year we've been investing more and more. We've been to different events, talking to different people. I think a big part of entering a new market is um, speaking with the uh,
The community.
yeah, with the community. So whether it's an exchange, whether it's just a gaming project or an NFT project, or a crypto payment processor, trying to understand the ecosystem and the needs of the different players, and finding whether you can actually bring some value to the community.
And that's a really good point. So, what do you see? Um, what do you see is unique about the needs of the crypto industry? And before that, what does FinXP do exactly?
All right, so FinXP, we are a payments and banking solution provider for other businesses primarily, and we we serve many companies that are in regulated industries. So industries like iGaming,
Okay.
industries like cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and increasingly CBD, for instance, and such. With regards to unique needs of the crypto industry, um,
So, so let's be clear. Hold on before we jump onto that. So, you FinXP is an EMI, Electronic Money
yes,
Institute,
yes,
that provides banking services to the crypto industry at large.
yes.
Okay, clear. Now, what do you see that's, I mean, banking is of course a very complex world, right? But what do you see that's unique in the industry, or specific challenges that are unique to crypto?
So just as a disclaimer, when I say banking, it really means we provide an account for the crypto companies to operate with. So
Okay,
we don't provide credits, so we don't provide loans or any of those services
clear.
that banks provide. As an electronic money institution, licensed and regulated by the MFSA, we cannot provide credit.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, with regards to unique needs of the crypto industry, I mean definitely they have some needs that are not unique and that are common across regulated industries. So
Like what?
just having a an IBAN account is a challenge that many crypto companies have, and same goes for instance the iGaming sector. So many banks do not want to provide accounts for crypto companies, and so they need to come to EMIs like FinXP, which can, because we have a better understanding of the industry, and because we are committed to understanding the risks within the industry, we are more open to accepting such clients. So
Okay,
yeah,
so with that, I think the answer to the previous question would be that therein lies the challenge, right? And that in the crypto industry, business models are kind of somewhat unique to that industry, and you need a particular level of understanding of how that business works to be able to correctly articulate its risk.
yes. So it's very important to, from our perspective, to understand the business model, and obviously you need to understand the payment flows. So when a business applies for an account with us, we need to know where the money is coming from and where it's going, basically. Um, and that's not always very straightforward.
In crypto, it
In
really is.
especially in crypto. So understanding understanding these payment flows, basically understanding who the merchant is and who the merchant is dealing with, is very important. And as a financial institution, we do go into the trouble, because it is our responsibility to look into these granular details,
Of course.
and that's why we are able to offer a solution. A mainstream bank might not want to go into the trouble of going into such granular details because they're more mainstream, and that's fair.
Of course.
But we are more specialized, and that's why we are able to offer the service.
That makes sense. Okay, so in terms of that unique understanding, how do you use that unique understanding to be able to create marketing campaigns that separate, not only the good clients from the bad clients, right, but the scammers from the non-scammers, and that's arguably even harder.
Yes, that's definitely one of the main challenges that we have. So generating um, leads and applications from legitimate and genuine businesses, and trying to um, not discourage, but um, trying to put out a message that appeals really and truly to the people and businesses that you want to reach is, I guess, one of the biggest challenges, because ultimately the needs of the scammers and fraudsters are very similar to the needs of the genuine businesses. So
Then that makes so much sense, right? And
yes.
that must definitely make things ridiculously hard.
Yes, and you know, part of my job, I guess, is definitely qualifying the leads that come in. So we receive, leads every day, and you need to, understand the business model again, and speak to them, speak to the merchants, and see what they're doing and what they intend to do with the account. And it takes time, but it's also very interesting, and you learn a lot in the process.
Of course, because you get to see, right, like the money flow of both sides of the coin at the end of the day, of the good guys and the bad guys, inadvertently, without even wanting to.
Exactly, and basically, the market is telling you what they need. So I think we're in a very lucky position in that there's quite a bit of demand for our services in general. So there's a lot of incoming, and that reduces the need to do stuff like outreach, and which we do sometimes, but is not really that important.
Yeah, okay, so what you're saying is that finding a bank account in the crypto space is so difficult that there's more than enough inbound to go around. It's the
Yes.
challenge is more about sifting between the people who are trying to do something illegal and the guys that you really want as customers, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, we don't just do it for the crypto space. We do it also for other regulated industries and other normal industries. But in general, yeah, there's a lot of inbound demand, and that's partly because we have built our brand also along the years, and
Sure.
we have a number of both clients and partners that refer business to us. So that's a big part of it too.
Sure, no, that makes sense. And okay, so in terms of markers, i.e., when you need to differentiate between, let's say, a good client and a bad client. Yes, of course, there's limits within your remit as a, let's say, as a chief marketing officer, right? Because most of the heavy lifting would have to be done by the compliance team, but you're also the sort of first line of defense, right? In many ways. So, what markers do you see that help you differentiate between the good clients and the bad clients?
Sure. I mean, there are many markers that we look at. So something that's very simple is the email address. So whether they use the domain of their company, or whether they're using a Gmail or a Yahoo account.
That makes sense.
Sometimes there is a legitimate reason why they use a Gmail.
How so?
So, for instance, it might be a spin-off of an existing company, and they might not have set up the website and the
Okay.
and the emails yet, and so they're using a Gmail. I just received an application like that from a investment firm, quite large, and
And it was a Gmail account.
it was a Gmail account, so you never know. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, you want them to have their own
Domain, exactly.
name. You want to check the website, see that it's serious. You check who is contacting you, so you check their LinkedIn, for instance, check that they have a good track record.
Fair.
then you also check where they're founded, so the jurisdiction where the company is founded, when it was founded, stuff like that.
Exactly. The sort of the okay. So that's the sort of the approach to or rather the first line of defense, I guess, in terms of filtering out customers. And it's let me ask you another question. Do you work with stable coins at the moment?
No, we don't touch crypto ourselves.
You don't touch crypto yourself.
No.
Because as far as I understand, the EMI license
Doesn't allow it.
doesn't allow it, but
No.
as from because of MICA, EMIs will be responsible for dealing with electronic money tokens and electronic money.
I don't know. It
No?
could be. Could be.
Fair enough.
I'm
Fair
not,
enough.
I'm not,
fair
I'm not
enough.
updated on that.
Fair enough. Maybe the compliance has something brewing. Okay, but so far you've not dealt with crypto specifically. But I mean, at the same time, you have all the understanding, kind of, or most of the understanding needed to, right? Because
Yes, and you know, it's important to state that i- it's true that crypto companies they like to obviously they're very pro crypto and they like to transact using crypto,
sure.
but ultimately they still need fiat accounts, and that's sort of where we come in.
Well said. I think one of my favorite quotes in general actually came from a friend. Is Ian from ZBX, and he said, "Banks need crypto, and crypto need banks." One of my favorite quotes ever. It makes so much sense, right? Because if you're whatever crypto you're trading, whether it's ETH, whether it's BTC, whether it's Solana, it doesn't matter. At some point, you're gonna need fiat. At some
Yes.
point, right?
Yes.
And the banking industry, on the flip side, is plagued by I guess, its own systems. Why? Because you very rightly mentioned that, like, one of the unique things which FinXP offers is the ability to understand the business case behind a crypto company's operation, so you can correctly assess the risk. But if that transfer is happening on the banking network, right, then you're relying on correspondent banking, means your understanding needs to be transposed to like 5 other people along the way. Right?
All right. So with FinXP specifically, um, especially when we're talking about euros, so the SEPA area,
Mhm.
there's no bank, there's no third party behind FinXP. We sort of act as the bank.
Okay.
So there are many EMIs that white label other fintech services.
Absolutely.
That's not what we do. So
So you're directly connected into SEPA, and in doing so, does that mean that you're the only company that needs to understand this business case and you can just affect the transaction?
yes, with regards to euros. So-
Interesting.
and
Okay.
that's actually one of our USPs in the market.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that many companies, even in the crypto space, are afraid of is that they have an account and this will suddenly be closed because the bank will change its risk policy, and you might have an account with ABC EMI who bank with XYZ bank, and the bank might change their risk policy, which means that the EMI has to change its risk policy.
Yeah.
So what that means is that the clients of the EMI,
Get their account closed,
get their account.
which
Closed.
is the biggest nightmare for
With
any
FinXP
client.
it's different because we are in charge of the accounts. We are the issuers of the accounts, and we are risk open to the crypto industry, and it's not going to change.
Okay,
That would be
okay.
my
So dive into that with me a little bit more. So I can't say I'm extremely well versed on this topic, but if you're the issuers of your own accounts. M- How would that? I mean, you don't issue the IBANs yourself directly because you don't hold the funds directly, right? The funds are held by
No, the funds are
tier one
are
banks.
the funds are safeguarded by
Exactly.
by a central bank.
By a central bank. I see. So you're directly connected to the central bank
Yes, yes.
rather than having your funds placed
Mhm.
with a different EMI. That, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, okay, okay. I hear you. I hear you.
The-
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So that gives the customer peace of mind, basically, that they just need to make sure that you clearly understand their business case, and then their worry of, funds being locked or their accounts being closed or whatever can almost entirely go away.
exactly, yes.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. And what about, I mean, like in the crypto industry, business models change and they evolve kind of often in some cases, right? Like 2017, we saw the ICO days, 2021, we saw the NFT days. Just before that, we saw the start of DeFi, right? And things are constantly evolving, right? Like, what do you do to not only keep abreast of what these companies are doing and how the business models are changing, but I mean, how do you even begin to, like maintain a constant understanding with
I
with these
mean,
companies?
we have a genuine interest in the industry, so you know, automatically you try to keep abreast of what's happening. Apart from that, we are in constant talks with our partners and also with our merchants. So there's always
A line of
um,
communication.
a line of communication. You always learn more when you're talking with the actual merchants and with the actual partners.
Okay.
It's one thing to read an article on the web, but it's another thing to actually hear it from people who are in the industry, like from the horse's mouth. So
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
we have sort of the benefit of hearing what's happening in the industry from industry players.
Absolutely.
And um, then part of it is like other things like going to events and speaking to other people, learning what's new. But with regards to existing clients doing new things and maybe changing their business model, I believe it's their responsibility to inform us if they're doing something that's completely new.
Sure.
So
Sure.
um,
In the same way you inform the regulator if you're doing
yes,
something new as
yes,
well. Like,
so
yeah.
that has to come from them.
There's an element of trust, right? Which is it's interesting. It's like there's a trusted layer that has to exist over a trustless layer, right? Like one cannot function well, not without the other, essentially, because I definitely think that there's benefits for the banking world in terms of using crypto, like for example, the ability to remit funds between different countries um, uh, in record speed times. But it's interesting to see how one begets the other, right? Now let's talk a little bit more about the marketing side of things. So, where are the let's say the geos that you're seeing interest from in terms of the crypto industry specifically?
All right. So, I mean, as FinXP, we're mostly focused on Europe, because we are licensed in Europe. So, ultimately, that's where our focus is. And
Sure.
as a company, we're not so large that we can focus on every possible region.
Of course.
But there is a lot of interesting. There are a lot of interesting, sorry, projects that are happening in Dubai and that region, the
Mhm.
Middle East region. And yeah, we have quite a bit of interest from that region.
From that region, okay. So in the European Union, I mean, from a licensing perspective, makes sense. and from an interest perspective also makes sense, right? I mean, in the States, crypto banking is not a problem. Like you just walk into JP Morgan, you get an account basically like that. If you go into the right bank, someone even give you a free gun for signing up, and you're done and you're sorted, right? Asia, on the other hand, is its own. The APAC market, I guess, is its own beast, and Dubai, Abu Dhabi, those two places, I guess, are the bridge, right, between the east and the west in some way. But I was under the understanding that banking is relatively easy in Dubai, right? So where is the crossover?
The thing to keep in mind is that there are many companies, not just in Dubai, but in the Middle East and even in the APEC region, that want to enter the European market. And so they need a euro account.
I see.
So that's where companies like FinXP come in, because we can have them with euro accounts, we can have them with cross-border payments, card issuing or whatnot. So
that makes perfect sense. And Dubai, I mean, in terms of being a crypto hotspot, I would say at the moment Dubai and Abu Dhabi are the two hotspots of the world, right? I mean, you've got trade zones like Joe from WH Partners was just here talking about earlier. He was talking about Abu Dhabi Global Markets, ADGM, and talking about VARA and what they're doing. It seems like they've got all the right ingredients basically to create a thriving ecosystem.
I mean, I was in Dubai just a few months ago for Seamless Middle East, and yes, I mean, there's a lot of activity, not just in the crypto market but also fintech, and definitely it's a very exciting space to be. And I mean, one of the reasons we were there is because we already have some interest in from that region. So
yeah.
No,
there and are there any? Because when you're at the home of innovation, that's what I like to think of that area as, right? It's the home of innovation. Are there any specific business models which you came across that you said, hey, listen, this is really cool?
None come to mind, to be honest.
And there's also the client sort
yes,
of privilege thing. So if you need to move on from the question, feel free.
There's nothing that I think that I can.
Fair. Okay. What about the NFT space? Do you see any? Because let's dial this back a little bit. So I am of the belief that 95% of NFTs are worthless. Okay. And I've come across, the only reason I left that 5% gap there was for projects I didn't know about. I happily came across a project last week. Well, I mean, I've known about it for some time. A project called Decimated that's using NFTs in the right way, right? And the way that they're using them is, yes, they're doing a Solana drop. You can buy an NFT for 0.6 ETH, but once you own this NFT within the game, you get a stupid profile picture. Okay, no one cares. But what you also get a power up along with that within the game. That's a unique ability that you couldn't otherwise get, right? Like, for example, I don't know, increase health regeneration or increase attack damage, or it's not just skins.
Yes.
It's utility.
I'm familiar with Decimated. I believe with the NFT you can also get access to certain parts of the game that are exclusive.
Exactly. Steven, you have fans. Who knew?
I have one of his NFTs.
Oh snap! I have a bag holder. Oh snap! Love it.
I'm deep into Decimated, so that's
cool. Okay.
Big fan of Steven and his team.
Cool. Okay. So what other sort of utilities for NFTs have you seen that come close to Decimated's leveraging of the tech?
I think what Decimated are doing is very on point, and um, they're really strategic about how they're moving that project forward, and how they're using the NFTs, because they actually do have real utility. But beyond that,
It's hard.
we
It's hard
haven't
to
come.
mention any others, right?
I haven't come across NFTs that really impressed me in some way, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very hard.
It's quite hard.
It's very, very hard.
And oftentimes what happens is that you come across an NFT, it has some utility, but then you say to yourself, well, couldn't we have done this without an NFT? You know.
Exactly.
So it's sort of like an NFT for the sake of having an NFT.
Exactly, and that is I think one of the biggest downfalls of blockchain. Right? So a curse which all new tech I think has had to bear is that for the longest time, new tech is a solution looking for a problem, right? Like take AI for example, right? Like people have been talking about AI since the fucking 70s, running PhDs, running studies on it back then, and we're only now starting to see it sort of come into fruition and into the sort of public eye. And I think blockchain and NFTs are very much sort of in that same boat.
Yes. I mean, AI is basically a buzzword nowadays. Marketers like myself use it to make things sound more exciting.
We have an honest marketer,
it
guys, an
supposedly
honest
works.
marketer.
But yeah, I mean, you have to A/B test messaging and see what works. But ultimately, now it's just a feature. So obviously, in marketing, the most important thing is to speak to the benefits and to the pain points of the customer. So nowadays, saying something is AI driven is just almost doesn't mean anything anymore.
I know, it's like sort of people have watered it down, right? I think it's funny. I'm seeing similar trends to like hype cycles in the blockchain industry, right? In 2021 it was let's use NFTs for everything and their mother, right? And it's the same thing now with AI, like just for the sake of really using it. I'm seeing it in pitch decks, I'm seeing it in product launches, I'm seeing it. Whereas the reality is, like, most people don't even know the difference between something that's AI powered and something that's developed in a standard way, like based on variables and queries and expected outputs, right?
That's true.
Um,
And there has also been I'm seeing lots of startups and a lot of product development that are driven just by the fact that something is AI powered, rather than the value that the project is delivering is better than the competition. And that's not right, I believe. So just saying we are AI powered doesn't mean you are better than the competition. It's just a feature.
Exactly. And I guess like people don't understand that if AI is implemented incorrectly, it makes things much worse than it does better, and it's much harder to implement AI correctly than it is to make a mistake, right?
Exactly.
That's the fundamental thing people miss, unfortunately. But it's interesting to know that it still has marketing weight, and it's nice to see someone sort of being honest about, hey, listen, this is a tool in the repertoire, let's use it, right?
Yes, I mean it is a buzzword, and we marketeers are guilty of using these buzzwords and of also increasing the hype towards AI. So that's reality.
So this is how the hype train gets built,
yes,
right?
yes.
Like marketers bounce off marketers. And they say, yes, this works. Let's do it. Like, love it. And last question from me. How do you see the banking landscape evolve for the crypto market over the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what does that look like? What changes do you think will arise?
My personal opinion, I believe that as the industry becomes even more regulated, especially in Europe, I think there's going to be um, more interest from the banks, and they'll become, I think, more friendly to the crypto industry um, in Europe at least, and also, as the crypto market matures, I think it will become more and more legitimate. Um, Even the perception of the market will become more accepted. Um, I believe some time ago I heard a stat that around some years ago around 2% of crypto transactions were scams, whereas now it's like more of whenever this was said it was half a percent. Oh, today it's probably less. So yeah, I think the crypto market is maturing, more regulation, more understanding from the banking sector. So I think there will be more acceptance in general.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this marriage between crypto and banks, I think, isn't going anywhere. I think it's only going to evolve, and those roots are going to be strengthened even further. But thank you so much for your insight, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for the invite.
Cheers.